Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, help us out and click subscribe to show your support. And while you're at it, if you are sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game every single year, stop doing it immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create your wrestler, sign contracts, get involved in storylines, headline pay-per-views, build your own corporation, even get involved in the Wrestler World Cup going on right now. All included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users, totally free. If you were all in for the All In show on September 1st, make sure you grab your All In merchandise by going to frowrestling.com and clicking the All In link in the middle of the page. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shoutouts like our good buddy Harold in St. Louis, then go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/frowrestlingpodcast and sign up today. Don't forget, loyalty rewards for anybody who goes in at $25 a month. You get to co-host an episode of Going Live with me, and our $10 a month contributors, you get entered into a drawing to do the same with one lucky winner when we have those contributions. Hello everyone, and welcome to this live episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast, right smack dab in the middle of Monday Night Raw. Somebody told me I was insane for going live during Raw, but here is the thought process. People will be online, they'll be tweeting, they'll be chatting about Raw, and maybe, just maybe, they'll find the Pro Wrestling Podcast and realize that we're trying to bring you guys all the wrestling news and rumors from the world of professional wrestling and trying to give you guys another outlet to really get your thoughts and contributions to the wrestling industry out there. Don't forget, if you are new to the Pro Wrestling Podcast or if you're a returning listener, that we have our all-time Dream Match Tournament Final Championship match voting going on right now at frowrestling.com. Make sure you click the fan vote tab and cast your vote in our championship final. This is the last week for voting. We'll be taking questions and comments throughout this show. Wherever you stream this show at, click on the chat function. It will send your questions directly to me live. If you're a little bit shy and you don't want to come on live, that's okay. We have the Pro Wrestling Sound Off line at 267-642-1160, where you can give us questions, comments, anything you want us to discuss in an upcoming episode, and we'll try to get to as many of those things as we can in our shows. Don't forget, if you are new to the podcast or a returner, don't forget to head over to our homepage at frowrestling.com, where you can preview all the topics that are coming to the Pro Wrestling Podcast. It's an easy way to come up with those questions and comments you want us to address. And when you send us a comment, please make sure to give yourself credit. Tell me who you are so I can get your name in a shout out for contributing to the show. We love to get you guys to be a part of that. So, I'm going to start off the show tonight. News broke late last week about Rey Mysterio confirming that he wants to end his career in WWE, and that's a big tagline. It makes it very clear what his intentions are. Here is the concern. How long is WWE going to wait for Rey Mysterio to decide that it's the right time? So, the negotiations have been going on for months now, and Rey Mysterio clearly doesn't want to work a full-time schedule. WWE sounds like they want him to work a schedule a little more active than what he is currently doing or negotiating for. So that's their big sticking point. How many dates is Rey going to appear on? In addition, Rey Mysterio is a majority stakeholder in Arrow Lucha. I happen to be a minority stakeholder in Arrow Lucha, and it is a new company. If you go onto YouTube, you can find some of their matches. They're actually some great stuff. I tweeted some of their matches out the other day, posted some on Facebook. They've got a great product that they're putting together, and they're really trying to bring that product to market. And I'm not going to ever say compete with the big boys, but they certainly have a place when you look at the other talent that is out there. Lucha Underground, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, places like that. There's no reason to think that Arrow Lucha, if presented in the right way and using the right talent in a great exposure type of way, couldn't be on those levels. And so that's one of the holding points also for Rey, is his involvement as a majority owner in Arrow Lucha. So, and by the way, if you are interested in Arrow Lucha, there's actually ways to become minority owners in the company. They have a crowdfunding source for business application that you can actually become a member. So check that out, find that online, Google that if you have to. But definitely something holding up the contract signing, but it sounds as though the contract with WWE is looking like it's going to be a 3-year deal with much more limited dates than a full-time wrestler, and that Rey Mysterio is at some point more than likely going to end up in WWE. I think it's just a matter of time. I think part of the conversation also, if we said this before, has to do with his son, who he would also like to bring into the business and get him a better exposure, and taking him to the Performance Center and getting him started with WWE would be a great way to do that. Another headline that was out today earlier, John Cena and Nikki Bella, TMZ is reporting that they were officially done. They're through. We know a few weeks ago Nikki Bella moved out of John Cena's house, was looking for her own place, and now it has been reported that they have officially notified their friends and family and coworkers that they are officially separated, it's over. Turning the page, moving on. Nikki Bella saying that when she watched episodes of Total Bellas, that it really bothered her, the way she looked in the camera shots and the way her demeanor was, and that she doesn't want to go back to that. And so the relationship apparently is over. You got to wonder how that's going to affect John Cena and his desire to continue doing this line of work, especially if she is more prominently featured, because there is rumor that she wants to get much more active and get back into the ring. So we'll have to see how that plays out as far as the two of them being able to work together. It's one of those situations where they both are going to claim that they still love each other so much and they support each other and all this and that. But at the end of the day, not making it work as a couple. And, if you're somebody who's paid close attention to John Cena over the years, he seems to have a really tough time keeping the ladies, He previously married, then divorced, several girlfriends, many wrestlers frustrated with him over the years for potentially dating their significant others, and then the Nikki Bella debacle. So we'll have to keep our eyes on that and see who John Cena ends up with next. It sounds like he had a little fling going on with Carmella. Maybe that'll be the next flavor of the week. The Rock. The conversation started swirling hot and heavy this week that he may be appearing at WrestleMania 35. He clearly would love to do that. But here's the thing that I find fascinating about The Rock at WrestleMania is I get the impression that his contribution, what he really would like to do, is give someone the rub who he feels really deserves it. And right now that person may just be Elias. The Rock, clearly a huge Elias fan. Elias trying to get The Rock's attention, putting out several tweets at The Rock over the last couple weeks and over the last month, and it looks like that could be something they build towards should Vince McMahon decide that Elias is ready to take that monumental leap into the top of the stratosphere. And let's face it, many wrestling fans feel that he's there, that he's ready for that. And unfortunately, to this point, he's been kind of typecast into some of these lesser important, more juvenile roles. The whole thing with Braun Strowman, really getting squashed in the Intercontinental Championship fling he had with Seth Rollins. He just hasn't been given a lot of great things to work with. And now, if you start to get behind the guy, and The Rock would be a great guy to use to do it, you could build him as one of your mega stars in the future. I don't care who you are. I still think he looks like Macho Man Randy Savage when he played Buzzsaw in Spider-Man. But I definitely think he's talented enough to be a main event player, and hopefully WWE figures out a way to make that happen. Something they are making happen, one of the really cool announcements this week, former Impact Wrestling knockout Madison Rayne has been announced for the Mae Young Classic. She's a great addition to the tournament, a ring veteran, tons and tons and hundreds of matches under her belt, and she will bring some maturity to that tournament that I think a lot of WWE fans were waiting to see. The question's been out there repeatedly about, why not Angelina Love and Velvet Sky? They actually were doing an interview this week where they made it clear that they feel like WWE has already tried to create the beautiful people on more than one occasion. They cited Lay Cool, and they cited nowadays with the Iconics that they feel like they're trying to do like the beautiful people light, and that they don't think they'd have the kind of creative input that they would need to. They're very protective of the beautiful people intellectual property, and that they do not want to go to WWE because of that, which is interesting because, Velvet Sky dating and engaged to Bully Ray, who's very well connected to WWE and typically on very good terms with them, and his wife, or soon-to-be wife, having such a staunch opinion about the company, almost shocking. But you hear that from a lot of the girls who wrestle as Impact Wrestling knockouts. Chelsea Green's one of the few who's trying to make the move to WWE. I know Jade is also going to be in the Mae Young Classic. We're still waiting to hear about Chelsea Green. But it'll be interesting to see if that ever happens. I think at some point it would be nice to see it happen, but it sounds like Angelina Love and Velvet Sky are coming to the ends of their careers. They don't want to wrestle forever, and that may not happen. However, Gail Kim was addressed this week about whether or not she would return to WWE, and she was emphatic that she may make a return to the ring, but not for WWE. That if she returns, it would have to be like an Impact Wrestling thing. That's where she feels like she's invested the most of her career. It means the most, and she was not happy in her 2 runs in WWE. They didn't use her properly. Which, the interesting thing in the Gail Kim conversation is Mark Henry, speaking on Busted Open Radio, talked about how if he was booking the Evolution pay-per-view, If excuse me, if he was WWE, he would absolutely approach Gail Kim despite her statements and try to make her part of the show. Not just Gail Kim, but women's champions from around the world, cross promotion with other companies. Tessa Blanchard, people like that. Allie, bringing in the Impact champion, bringing in the Ring of Honor, Women of Honor champion, not because it's a WWE pay-per-view and you want to look like the biggest dogs on the planet, but because you really do want to send the message that women's wrestling has turned the corner and they are a focal point of professional wrestling. I actually think that, one, there's no chance it happens, but should it happen, let's just fantasy book for a moment that happened. And you saw the Impact champion, you saw the Ring of Honor champion, you saw maybe the Stardom champion or Shimmer or something of that nature. That, I think, would actually lend to the credibility of WrestleMania's main event next year, should it be Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. I think if you give that kind of injection of life into the women's division by incorporating women from all over the world, and clearly if they want to make a deal and get the deal done, WWE can do it. There's not a pay-per-view company, not a wrestling promotion in the world that wouldn't sign a deal to showcase their women's champion, even in a losing effort, on another program just to bring eyes to their show. And I think that's something WWE should look at. I think it's something Triple H has looked at in the past. Vince is the one who is really the roadblock to things like that happening. I find it fascinating. I saw an article this week where Vince McMahon, they were talking about how he looks so bad on Raw when they announced the Evolution pay-per-view, and that's why he doesn't want to be on TV anymore, and that in all the TV contract negotiations with CBS and Fox and ESPN and all that it was Triple H and Stephanie McMahon that were doing all the negotiating because they didn't want people to see Vince McMahon, his current appearance. That's sad to me. The guy is in magnificent shape, especially for his age, but apparently wants to take a step back from television and not appear because I think he feels like it detracts from the program, despite the fact that I don't believe that. I think the fans love seeing him. Somebody we won't be seeing for a while, James Ellsworth, as everybody knows, fired last week on SmackDown, but the rumor is he started a rehired Ellsworth hashtag on Twitter. I actually tweeted it. I had to. I actually love James Ellsworth, but now when you tune into oh my gosh, what the heck is the guy's name? I'm totally drawing a blank right now. Dave Meltzer. Sorry about that. Dave Meltzer's reporting this week that he feels like James Ellsworth will be brought back. It's just a matter of time. They did want to give him a full-time contract. He still takes independent bookings, and he's worth a lot more money on the indies because of his time in WWE, but it sounds like at some point he'll be back in the fold. I just don't know how soon that'll happen. Somebody who won't be coming to WWE, we've had all this conversation about people leaving Ring of Honor and coming to WWE, whether it's Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Cody. One person who won't be leaving is someone who, in my opinion, is the future of the Ring of Honor franchise, and that is Flip Gordon signing a new long-term deal with Ring of Honor. Congratulations to Flip Gordon, because he is an incredible talent. If you have not watched a lot of his matches and seen his performance, his moveset, his timing in the ring is impeccable. That's the kind of guy you build a brand around. I think Flip Gordon, in my opinion, will absolutely have more than one Ring of Honor championship run in his tenure with the company, and I think that this contract pretty much secures that for the long haul. Somebody else signing a long-term contract this week, Rich Swann, signing a long-term deal with Impact Wrestling. It's really a good get for them, and it's a shame for WWE that he is gone from their brand. You know, there were some conversations in January about whether or not he and his wife had a domestic thing going on and what they should do about that. At the end of the day, no police charges were filed. He was exonerated of all that stuff. And you know what? Let's face it, there's nothing you could do from a legal standpoint. So WWE, all they did was hand one of the best cruiserweights in the world to their rival promotion. That just shows you the arrogance of WWE, knowing that no one's going to ever touch them for being the number one player in the game. Unless that person happens to be Walt Disney Corporation, who it was said this week was contemplating making a merger purchase of WWE and adding it to their parent or their umbrella of brands. I can't envision a scenario where the happiest place on earth showcases guys beating each other up on Extreme Rules. Not that they do much Extreme Wrestling on Extreme Rules, just my opinion. Somebody else who was talking about a return to the ring was Sting this week, talking about how he feels very healthy, that he could get in the ring and have a great match with The Undertaker, really tell a story, and all the stuff you'd want to hear about a match between Sting and The Undertaker, but that he has concerns and reserve about his neck. For those who didn't know, he has spinal stenosis in the neck. He had numbness and tingling down the left side of his body and things of that nature, and he made it clear. He said, no, I'm done. I'm happy with everything I did in my career, and I've pretty much closed the book and closed the possibility of coming back to the ring, which is sad for me. I was a diehard Sting fan from being a little kid back in like 87 when he was in the UWF still. But it's better for him and his health. As much as I would love to see he and The Undertaker in the ring just one time, it doesn't sound like that's going to happen. So, sad news to see him leaving the wrestling world for good, but good news to see how happy he is, how peace he is. He said, I had a WWE run, even though it was short. I got to wrestle Seth Rollins, and I got the challenge for the World Championship. What do I have to complain about? Like, what a great attitude. Another contract signing this week, Abyss has re-signed with Impact Wrestling. It's getting to the stage of Abyss's career where he really may not even have an opportunity to even consider going to WWE because he's getting to an age where they're not going to be interested. People have talked for years about a match between Abyss and The Undertaker or Abyss and Kane, and what a great draw that would be, and I agree with that. I would love to see the match, but it does not sound like that's ever going to happen. Unless WWE gets on board with cross-promotion, Abyss is one of the final TNA originals that is still with Impact Wrestling, and it sounds like will be for a long time coming, and that probably has shut the door on ever appearing in a WWE ring, which is, it's respectable that he's so loyal, but it's kind of sad at the same time because you're just curious what they would have done with a character like Abyss. He's so similar to Kane and so different in so many other ways. He's almost like a cross between Kane and Mankind. That would have been an interesting guy to see under the WWE umbrella. The Four Horsewomen, more of them debuting with NXT. That took place this past weekend. It looks like at some point they're going to build towards that horsewoman versus horsewoman opportunity. I think that's something that the WWE universe wants to see. I think at some point they'll make it happen. It's just a matter of time. But at least we're seeing that their people are getting into the ring and really have an opportunity to make that dream match, that 8-man or 8-woman tag team match, a reality at some point in the future. Talking about the future, huge pushes, and that's Andre Cien Almas. Looks like he is set for a huge push. WWE superstars and executives were very impressed with his showing against AJ Styles on SmackDown a few weeks ago, and now it looks like they really want to push him hard. He is incredibly talented. He wrestled all over the world, Mexican lucha style, and he can go with anybody and has earned this opportunity, and I hope that he's almost like a throwback to Rey Mysterio in that he's a smaller guy, but he can go with anybody and he's believable to be able to win. And that's something you have to have. You can't have somebody out there who, I remember back in the day when they had Zach Gowen facing Brock Lesnar, and I was like, come on, man, seriously? That doesn't even make sense. But this makes sense. When you watch him wrestle, he's poetry in motion. He's incredible. And it really makes it so he is a legitimate threat to any championship in WWE should they choose to book him that way. Hopefully we get to see him with some gold very soon on the main roster. Something you can look forward to seeing on television on WGN America starting September 15th. It's been announced that Ring Warriors will air on WGN America. I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait to see their product. I know Austin Aries has been talking about going there and trying to win their championship as well. World Series of Sport debuted they did their final taping and debuted this past week. Grotto losing the championship. The championship he supposedly held for over 427 days or some nonsense like that. So another player getting into the game. So there's so much movement in the world of professional wrestling. You really got to stay on top of it, people. Keep your eyes on not just the premium promotions, the WWE, the Impacts, the Ring of Honors, the Lucha Undergrounds. They're the ones with the most exposure, but they're not always the ones with the best product. I got the privilege and the benefit this week, and I have to shoot out a thank you to Mike Quackenbush of Chikara for giving me a personal invite to go to Chikara this week. There's taping season 19, and we got there, and it was, my son and I got there, and it was just a fantastic show. I mean, they really did a great job. The characters, for someone like me, I've got smaller children. The characters are so much more inviting for my kids. I took pictures with my son and myself. I'll actually be posting those on FroWrestling.com because you guys know I have my little photo album there. I have to put my pictures up. And And it was so funny to see. My son's taller and thicker than one of the talents there, but it didn't matter. They were all excellent in the ring. They did, cross-gender matches that were believable. They had an interesting match for the World Championship that was unbelievable match. They had a great 8-man tag team match that saw a big heel turn by one of the babyface tag teams. I mean, they just had stuff all over the place. They had Princess Kimberly announce that she'll be going to Stardom to compete in one of their tournaments. They were talking about their King of Trios tournament coming up. So it'll be really cool to see Chikara's product. I cannot recommend it high enough. Mr. Quackenbush, thank you so much for inviting the Pro Wrestling Podcast to your home, 4711 Wingate Street in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you've never been there, check it out. Cool sound stage, nice setup. I really thought it was a great presentation. They have another show coming up August 11th, Chikarasaurus Rex. Check it out. Go to chikarapro.com or go to thewrestlefactory.com, which is their training center where they train the wrestlers in the exact same location that they tape their shows. Go to their YouTube channel. Great stuff for everybody can appreciate if you're a diehard wrestling fan. And while you're at it, I hope people understand how much I appreciate independent wrestling. So last week we launched a new page on the ProWrestling.com website. It is an indie event page. Multiple independent corporations have given me the permission and given me the blessing to promote their shows on our indie event webpage. And there's a host of them on there. Feel free to go check out ProWrestling.com. You'll see all the different companies listed there. There'll be links to their different company pages. Just click on their logo. It'll take you to their shows. But we have stuff coming up every weekend. Warrior Wrestling is on there. Susquehanna Wrestling Organization, CWF, which there's so many different corporations. Reliant Pro. We have a Modern Vintage Wrestling, which is a really great guy out in the central Pennsylvania area. Great guy putting on really quality shows with premier talent. So there's just so many. Bandit Wrestling is out there. They're another one of those. PWF is another one. All Pro Wrestling. All Pro Wrestling has Sucker Free. APW Sucker Free coming on August 17th. Going to be a killer show with Jeff Cobb and Joey Ryan and Pentagon Jr. and all these just incredible talents. Rich Swan. So these guys, these are smaller promotions, but they're really putting on a great product. And that's the part that I hope people really can wrap their brain around. It's you don't have to go WWE. Now, I'm not taking away from WWE, but you don't have to go WWE to be able to get a great experience. You could go check out Arrow Lucha. As I said, we put a new link on our webpage for the Arrow Lucha webpage. Check it out. See their matches. They're phenomenal. But in the meantime, just make sure you're diversifying your wrestling viewing because there's so much more out there. The last thing I need to talk about tonight, you guys who have tuned in the podcast for any length of time know that I am a huge fan of wrestling, have been since I was about 4 years old. And throughout my young teenage years, my young developmental years, some certain wrestlers really meant the world to me. And one of them was Nikolai Volkov. And it was announced earlier this week, yesterday actually, that Nikolai Volkov had passed away at the age of 70. He was an incredible human being. Forget the wrestling side of things. He could wrestle with anybody. He had high-profile matches with Hulk Hogan. He had tag team championship runs with the Iron Sheik. And he was a complete jobber at other times in his career. But it really never mattered. Up until even this past year, he could still get in the ring only about a month ago for SICW, Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling, which is another link on our page. He was wrestling for them. This guy was active to this day and such a great guy. He was such a positive presence, and he never minded taking a few minutes to spend some time with a fan and really make their wrestling experience just unbelievable. And it was so sad to hear of his passing. In addition, many people have reported, many people know, Jerry the King Lawler's son, Brian Christopher, Grandmaster Sexay, passed away. There was a situation, I don't want to go into the details because I don't believe in doing that, but sadly he passed away at the age of 46 this week. Another sad loss. Scotty 2 Hottie and Grandmaster Sexay fan myself, when they won the tag titles, I was so thrilled. Back in, I want to say, 2000. They beat Edge and Christian for the belts. They didn't hold them very long, like a month. But they got their little moment in Sun. I loved their tag team. They were so different. I remember mimicking them when I used to work at the one place. And just sad to see somebody go so young. And Brickhouse Brown, the guy who was reported last week that he had passed away, only to wake up a few days later, now actually has officially passed away. So the Pro Wrestling Podcast, we just want to send out our most sincere condolences to the families of Nikolai Volkov, of Brian Christopher, of Brickhouse Brown. You know, we really hope that those families can find some peace of mind, some solace, knowing that, you know, some of them got the opportunity to perform in front of hundreds of thousands of fans throughout their career. They really got an opportunity to do some special things, and they're always going to be appreciated. You know, I hope their families know that. We will always appreciate them. But in the meantime, prayers to their families for their loss, and hopefully sometime in the future, some of those, Nikolai Volkov, WWE Hall of Famer already, but even somebody like Brian Christopher, really you can make the argument, especially, you know, I'll throw out my consistent complaint. If Koko Beware can be in the Hall of Fame, why can't Brian Christopher? It's just my opinion. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode. We'll run down all the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks, as always, goes out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com. They produce all the music and sound effects that we use throughout the show. Today's podcast was sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game from Beazle Games by going to frowrestling.com and clicking the icon in the middle of the screen to pick up your copy today. Don't forget to grab a copy of Banana Market or Legendary Elements, also available on frowrestling.com. Thanks to AlleyRepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. If you're looking for your next career move, you're considering college, university life, or you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life educational planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro. I want to thank you so much for taking a few moments with us today. And if you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, go to www.tsj101sports.com for their latest articles on the world of professional wrestling, or go to In Fro's Corner, a link right off of frowrestling.com for my latest editorial pieces. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great night.